Jenna Soard is one of my most successful and funniest friends. And I'm so excited for you to meet her because she has a wealth of knowledge that she is about to share with you today. And she, just so you know, is probably one of the most experienced and well-versed people on this planet when it comes to launching courses online. So she's going to share her knowledge in that space, as well as just the growth that she's experienced in her business as a whole and how she got to where she is today, which is almost hitting $1 million in revenue for her business. I'm so proud of her personally, and I'm just so excited for you guys to meet her. She truly is a gem. So get ready to meet Jenna Soard. Jenna, I am so excited for this episode with you because every time that we talk, we always jam out. So I just know this is going to be an awesome episode. So thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. It's really awesome that you asked me. I was talking to Val the other day and I was like, Ashley has a podcast and she hasn't invited me on yet. And I'm feeling really sad about this because I'm launching a podcast. I want her on mine. And then like without you even knowing, you did. And then I was like, she loves me.
Manifested. Awesome. I love it. Okay. So for those of you listening, Jenna and I are going to jam about something that's really, really important. And that is really creating multiple revenue streams in your business. So you're not just dependent on one, right? You have multiple streams of revenue. And it's also, I mean, Jenna, I'm super excited for you to talk about this because I know you just did this with your business. Jenna made $50,000 in the last week. Like her company crushes it. She's, as I said in the intro, she is a course launching expert, and she has a course about launching courses. And so every course that she launches, she does 6 figures in her launches. And so Jenna, I'd love for you to talk to us about your journey and like how you started with your own courses, and then talk to us about how you evolved to where you are today with your business.
Yeah. So I actually started off as a graphic designer back in the I actually started as a graphic designer way as early as high school. And I knew that I wanted to be a designer. And, I went to school for design and I knew I loved graphic design. But in about my mid-20s, I was having a really tough time with having a million clients. Like I would have like 15, 20 different clients that I was working with. And I found myself to often be exhausted because I was trading time for money. I couldn't really scale because there's only one of me. And I didn't really feel like anybody could design the way that I could. So I didn't really feel like I could go hire people to come work for me, which is a little bit of a limiting mindset back then that now I know better. It's taken.
But very common. That's very common though.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of listeners can relate to that.
It's taken me 15 years to realize that I am not the only person in the world who can do what I can do. That I can actually hire people, and even people overseas who can actually even do a better job because they have more energy. So I was, really trading dollars for hours. In about 2010, a boyfriend had sent me an email saying, hey, Zig Ziglar has this thing about making money online. You should check this out. And I remember reading the email going, oh my gosh, I could create a school. I could create a school and teach entrepreneurs how to set up their own websites and teach designers how to be better designers. And it was this huge aha. And I went on like a 4-year journey trying to launch my very first course. And it was really hard back then because the technology isn't where it is now. We didn't have Kajabi. We didn't have Teachable. We didn't have, it wasn't easy to upload videos onto the internet. It took like 9 million hours to like take something from a camera and put it in. We didn't have easy to use video recording software that was something outside of what professionals use. Like, yeah, there was iMovie, but it wasn't that intuitive for doing screen sharing and things like that. There wasn't a lot of solutions that we have now for doing this stuff. And so I remember I specifically started teaching at the University of Oregon to start to use the University of Oregon as like sort of my testing grounds to see what it was like to teach people design that were not designers. And so I used it sort of as a testing ground. And then in addition to that, I got a second job designing for Nike because I wanted to learn learn what one of the biggest brands in the world would do to create a profitable brand. And so I went in there as like a scientist, like an undercover spy, basically. Not corporate espionage, please don't throw me in jail. But I basically was like, I was basically going in and like seeing how they like do their branding war rooms and like put together things. And I wanted to incorporate all of that as part of my course. And then even after that, it still took me an additional 2 years before I had gathered enough information to be able to launch the course. And so it was 2013, I think 2014. And I had just turned 34 and I hit the open cart button and made 33,000 in sales my first week, my first course ever.
Wow.
With an email list of about 1,500 people. And I didn't have a funnel. I didn't have anything except for a sales page and an offer. And people were talking to me about funnels. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I just opened up the sales page and then started making money. And then from here on out, it's been 5 years in business, over $1 million in sales. And it's been awesome. So, but yeah.
And you learned, you became an expert, you taught yourself everything you needed to know to then launch this course, which did really well. You went on to launch multiple courses after that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you created a course because you mastered the art of launching courses. And guys, I want, for those of you listening, just really hear this right now, because Jenna has evolved so much on her journey. And what I love about what you've created, Jenna, is your brand, your business has been evolving with you along the way. Mm-hmm. And that's so important for all of you listeners that are either just starting a business or you have a business now, knowing that you're going to evolve, and it's pertinent, it's crucial that you allow your business to evolve with you. So what Jenna did was she went on to create a course launcher course, basically, that helps people accomplish what she mastered. So every time Jenna mastered something, she then created a new offering to her potential clients and existing clients to then get them to achieve the same success as her. So this is really important for those of you listening, like become an expert at something and then create your offer based off of what you're an expert at. And then know that as you evolve, your expertise is going to evolve with you. And so now, Jenna, can you talk about now how you're serving your private clients, which is something you weren't doing just, I don't know how long ago that was.
Yeah. So remember, like, you know how we're just like a complete makeup of our beliefs about things. And my belief around having a private client was back when I had graphic design clients. Remember, I got out of having graphic design clients and starting a course because they were making me feel like I had 20 bosses. And I got into teaching because I felt like I was the boss and that they had to do whatever I told them to do. And that was a really empowering thing when you have 20, 50, 100 people being like, what do we do? Versus a client comes in and they're like, we need to do this and you need to do the graphic design this way. And they turn into, it's like having 10 to 15 bosses. And so I had all these limiting beliefs around like, what I don't want to take on any private clients because to me that equals no more freedom and that equals a ton more work. And what I discovered was that since, as I fast forwarded, after 2.5 years of selling my graphic design program, I realized that all of my clients were looking on how to launch their courses. And I did exactly what you said. I created this new system on how to launch the courses, just following what I had done. I also wanted to give them a product that they could sell on the websites because they were creating all these beautiful websites, but they didn't have a product that was proven. And so I got super passionate and got away from branding. I was like, you know what? Branding is like the last step. Branding's the step like after you've made $100,000, then go make your website look beautiful. Like, let's get you a product or a service that's selling first. And that became my number one passion. So I actually kind of stopped selling the branding program, which is kind of funny because my business is youcanbrand.com. Now, instead of like how to make a beautiful brand online, it's about how to create a profitable brand starting with a product. And so through developing that process, I then realized just recently, just in the past 3 months, it was a total accident that I found out that I could do this. I had tried to sell private packages for branding because that's what I had my experience in, and for some design or some course launching stuff about a year ago, and I was not aligned with it. And it didn't sell because I did like 27 sales calls and I think I sold 2 people. Like it was like not there was something that was not aligned there. And the feedback I got was that you don't actually want to be doing this. And they were right. Like, I didn't want to be branding people's sites. I didn't want to be doing that. Fast forward to now, I had a guy I was dating wanted to come work for my business. And he's like, can I do some sales calls for you? Like, let's see if we can bring in some business. And he was like, I think you should do this kind of product and, do what you're doing in your courses and do it on a one-on-one level. And I was like, okay. And he brought in $30,000 worth of business the first week that we were hanging out, and things did not work out with that guy, by the way. But I was like, well, what a great way to spend a month making $30,000 with this guy. Like I was like,
totally worth it.
I was like, this is the best, worst relationship I've ever had. So like I walked away $30,000 richer. So that was great. So it was one of those things where I realized like, working with these clients, these were people who'd gone through my courses that had achieved massive success in the course. So they had made at least $10,000 to $20,000 to $40,000, and they were looking for the next steps with me. And I didn't know that there was a pool of people I had gathered over the past 2 years that I have helped them creating their courses, that they were looking for a service like this. And so when I offered to do this one-on-one and actually do some done for you services, like they can just show up to the launch versus having to set up the Facebook ads, set up the landing pages, set up the sales pages, that I could actually use the process I had created to do that for them, and then use an overseas team to execute all the things that would normally take me a tremendous amount of time, like setting up the sales pages, lead pages, ads and things like that. So we started selling these packages. They're like $15,000 plus a 25% revenue. And we just sold one after the other after the other. The easiest sales calls I've ever had, the easiest emails I've ever had. People are coming to me now going, how do we work together? I see you doing this for somebody else. How do you have that you come and do that for me? And I was like, wow. And the best part about this is that I like it even more than working with courses because they're so invested. They have put their, money where their mouth is. They fully believe in me, and they don't believe in telling me what to do because they followed the process and they know that works. And so it's forcing me to be way more professional in my own business.
I love it. And there's a couple of things I want to unpack from that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us and being so transparent as well.
Yeah.
So one of the things is, I love how you've created, like you have outsourced and delegated the things that like you've become really great at them, but then you also know that, hey, this isn't the best use of my time. And actually I can hire someone to do this stuff and be probably 50 times more effective with my time. And part of that is also, what you talked about earlier, which is like, oh, I don't think anyone can do it as good as me. And sometimes when, as an entrepreneur just starting out or wherever you are along your journey, it can be hard to let go of the reins and let go of control. Would you agree with me? It's absolutely crucial for us to let go of control in order to scale and grow.
Yeah. And, a lot of that comes from the control is generally related to your own business. I think that's the other thing to note here. When you're creating something for your own business, there's a certain level of attachment that can be like, oh, that designer doesn't get me. So I'm not getting what I want out of the designer. So therefore they can't do as good as I could if I could do it myself. And what I discovered through working with clients is that my level of like high level, I guess what was the word I'm looking for? The high level that I would normally require of my own business. I guess I was a little bit more flexible with theirs because I don't have the emotional attachment to how I'm going to show up with it. And what I discovered through the process was that my designer over in the Philippines, who's only $7 an hour, when she started producing materials for my clients, I was like, oh my gosh, it's better. It's better than I could do because she has the energy for it. She's super excited to have a creative job where she's like designing a brand for somebody via their slideshows and their sales pages, that she actually could communicate what I was thinking in my head without me doing all the work. And so she loves it. If I should do a sales page that I have, the sales page looks like a $5,000 sales page. It cost me $20. And I'm like,
I love it.
I'm like, can I just give you all the money? You know, and every time that she sent, and mind you, she also responds within 24 hours. She has projects done in a matter of hours.
So where did you find this girl?
I found her via Upwork, actually.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
And for those of you listening, because that's where I find all of mine as well. And that's where, I mean, from the beginning, 5 years ago, like that's where I found everyone. I still have the same team that I found 5 years ago on Upwork. So for those of you listening, jot this down, Upwork.com.
Yeah.
Go there and it's amazing what talent you can find available to you at your fingertips all over the world, all different kinds of everything you could imagine is there available to you. And that's the kind of freaking planet we live in, the kind of universe we live in, abundance everywhere. So if you feel like you want support with your business, there's things that you don't want to necessarily do yourself, go check out upwork.com, honestly. And I'm not getting paid to say that. I know we're sharing the knowledge here. Okay. It's like, this it works.
Yeah.
It really works.
Well, I mean, we're talking about $5 an hour, $7 an hour, which is a living wage in these countries before you think like, oh, like pay them what they're worth. They're making double, triple, quadruple what they would normally make doing the same job in the country. So it is paying them really well. And we do, give them bonuses and things like, and with my current designer, I asked her, I was like, by Filipino culture, I'm supposed to, be giving you a Christmas bonus. And she was like, I don't even want it because there's so much value that I've gotten from you being able to do the courses that you have. And so we oftentimes think like, oh gosh, they're working so hard, but all the skills that she was learning from working with me is pouring over into her other clients.
Yes.
And so when do we value, the things that we're doing, that when people come to work for us, the things that they're learning from us, they can actually take into other positions. And,
absolutely
feeling your value about that made me go, oh, like I'm not disturbing her or asking her to do all this stuff. Like she's actually getting a ton from this too. Which is
and that feels really good. It feels really good. I can relate. So, and then, okay, another thing, I'm kind of jumping around here, but there was something else I want to unpack that you said that's also really important. And that was, you touched on it quickly, the limiting beliefs that you used to have.
Yes.
Girl, when you said that, I can freaking relate all up and down, because when I used to think, right now I'm doing group coaching. Mm-hmm. I had a group coaching experience way back and it wasn't so good. And so where I was coaching a group, and same as you, it wasn't a good experience. So then I just ruled that out. I was like, nope, not going to do that. Definitely not for me. That's not for me. So what I want to take, and by the way, so Jenna and I mean, if you didn't listen earlier, what she said was she despised it. She didn't want to do it. And now she's doing it and she loves it. And it fills her up with so much joy. Same with me. I used to despise it and now I'm in love with it. So just know, like, if you have any stubborn beliefs, I'm going to challenge you guys that are watching, listening right now. If you have any beliefs in your mind that you're stubborn about, because I don't know about you, Jenna, but I was stubborn about this one. Even when people came to me, they're like, hey, you should do a group coaching program. I'm like, no, I really shouldn't. I really shouldn't. But like, I was really stubborn, and it's like, if you're stubborn about something, it's an indicator that that's a limiting belief you're running off of some poor experience you had. So challenge those and just be open to whatever lands on your lap, and know that there's so many ways to do something. There's more than one way to do something. So I just want to unpack that. That was a great point you made, Jenna. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think getting aligned with the things that light you up, like I love design. I love helping people create beautiful things. But throughout this entire process, I discovered that my number one love in life is helping people make money. Like if they can make money, when you see a single mom who's working 3 jobs and she makes her first $10,000 following what you say to do, and it doesn't cost her very much money to do that. Like it only costs her $100 in ad spend to do that. it's like the most amazing feeling in the world. And I was like, oh yeah, why are we trying to make things that are pretty? Why aren't we making things that sell? You know, like, and
Mm-hmm.
I have an MBA in marketing, and I think I fought a lot of the business stuff for a long time because I'm a designer. I want to make things look pretty. And now I realize that like sales is not scary. Sales is the fun part of business. Like this is the part that allows you to go to Bali and live part-time. This is the part that allows somebody to not have to show up in a cubicle from 8 to 5 every day. Like it's like money equals freedom to me, and freedom is my number one value. And I kind of just assume that if it's not everybody else's number one value, then they just haven't had enough money to make it that value yet. You know?
Mm-hmm. Or they're lying to themselves.
Yeah, right.
Or they're lying to themselves about it. Like a lot of people will say, I mean, guilty. I used to say this. Oh no, I don't really care about money. Oh no, it doesn't matter. Oh, money doesn't matter to me. And you think you're being humble. In reality, it's like, okay, just imagine for a second that you have a boyfriend and you would walk around saying, I don't really care about my boyfriend. No, I don't really care about him that much. He doesn't mean that much to me. Do you think he would stick around?
No.
Hell to the no.
That's like that's a great metaphor.
Yeah, like hell no, he would not stick around. And we can't expect money to either. If we're not, if it doesn't matter to us, if we're saying it's not important over and over again, well then, okay. The universe will provide you with, okay, money's not important to you.
Right.
You won't have any.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's like this attachment. There's so much stuff that I've incorporated into my teaching because, you know, I do a lot of investing in myself about abundance mindset. I'm in 2 different $30,000 masterminds this year with James Wedmore, and the other one's with Jim Fortin, who is actually Jim Fortin has been personally responsible for 5 people I know becoming multimillionaires. 5. My friends.
Wow.
They're not even like just people I know. These are like actually people that I'm acquaintances or friends with. And I was like, okay, so mastering the money mindset thing, super, super important. How can I also incorporate that into what I'm teaching the people when they're developing products and services? I have a current client right now who's getting ready to launch a program on saving Christian marriages. It's like I have a wide variety of types of clients. I work a lot with I have the full spectrum. I have psychic intuitive healers, and I have Christians, and I have it's
amazing,
kind of fun. Everybody's kind of in the same thing. Even the Christian marriage coach, she also believes in meditation and holy yoga, and I work a lot with all sides of the woo, and nutrition coaches and love coaches and things like that, and it's just so fun to get them to get out of their own way, to break their beliefs about the things that they think are possible or not possible for themselves. Everybody has these things.
Yep.
And then the best part, this is so crazy, I realized throughout this entire process of doing this launch process for other people that I actually had my own limiting beliefs around my own needs. And what that looks like is I was like, I'm going to do it myself. I had a $142,000 launch last year that I ran all the ads by myself. And I was like, I'm just, forget having a launch manager, forget having somebody do your ads. You need to do this yourself. And I learned ads, and now I teach ads because it was that whole mastery thing and going and teaching people. And now I'm teaching people how to do ads, and they're having these great results. But see, now I'm going to the next level, and I realize that there's a whole bunch of stuff that I don't know about what I don't know. So I hired a launch manager who's a conversion expert who is now going to 10 times my funnels because but I kind of needed to learn the ads to figure out what I knew and what I didn't know. And so the point is that it's okay to start with some of this DIY stuff to learn your industry, to learn what works and what doesn't. But then your goal is to get that ish off your plate as fast as humanly possible so that you can get out of your own way. And this is the best thing. He now runs all my launches, and I just have to show up. That's all I have to do. All I have to do is I have to show up on a webinar. All the emails are sent. All the funnels are set up. everything is set up. He writes, he revises the copy on the sales pages for me. He makes sure that the emails go out on time. And then he's doing all this crazy conversion stuff that's so beyond what I even knew existed. Like, how do you take a sales page and get it to load in a half of a second instead of 30 seconds, which affects conversion rates and also affects, the way that your ads perform. Like Facebook will actually punish you for not having a fast loading page. Well, how many times, here I'm a designer, and how many times have I had a big image on there because it looks pretty, and he can go in and recreate it and get that page to load in like a half of a second. And I'm like, and then he'll teach me all these other like amazing ninja tricks that I didn't even know existed. And so with this beautiful part of this relationship that's happening with this guy right now who has this like other business all about conversions is I'm taking all of the students that were where I was a year to 2 years ago. I'm getting them to verify their products with my thing. And he thinks it's genius because he's never seen conversions like the way that I can do it with an entry-level product. And then he can turn around and actually take all those students that I'm creating, and he's providing the next level service for them. So now I have an affiliate built in to as soon as these people have made their first $100,000, I can hand them off to him, and then he can skyrocket them to $100,000 a month. And so that's what we're doing now.
I am so obsessed. I love it. That's amazing, Jenna. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And yeah, I love that you were saying, because I know you're a designer and you love to make things pretty. I love making things pretty too. One thing I always say to my clients is, hey, look, a pretty website is great and all, but not if it doesn't convert. Like, it's gotta convert. If it's taken 10 seconds to freaking load, you're already lost over 50% of people.
Yeah.
Actually, it's like, I think the exact stat is, it's if a page takes longer than 3 seconds, you lose 40% of users. Just bam, dropped off. Crazy.
Oh my gosh.
And we don't think, a lot of people don't think about this stuff, but it matters.
And you know what? I can't tell you how many people in the $30,000 masterminds that I'm in, that is the last thing that they're thinking about. I've gone to industry leaders and have shared with them how many conversions they're losing by having slow loading pages. And they're like, what? That's a thing? So like, there are people who, will be able to take you where you currently are. You can't really go to the next stage and level in your business by doing the same things that you've been doing. So you have to start to think of like, who's going to be that person that's going to, get me to that next level. I'm that person for all my current clients, and I'm getting them to a certain point. But at a certain point, I have to stop and be like, okay, my genius zone ends here. I'm now going to set you up for success with the next phase of this, because I'm not going to be all things to everybody. I'm going to focus in this one area, crush it, and then I'm going to give business and make affiliate fees from my friends.
Yeah, totally. I love that. And that's so important. Like, the biggest thing, and for everyone that's listening right now, Jenna has a coach, you've pretty much always had a coach since you started.
Oh yeah.
Same for me. And that has been for me pivotal in my business. If you aren't investing in yourself, don't expect others to. Like, it's huge. If it is so important that you invest in yourself, because your business will only grow as much as you do.
Yeah.
So I love what you said about doing the same things over. It's like that. My dad used to always say, the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again, expecting different results.
Yeah.
And it's true. And so many of us do this because of the comfort zone, and, we want to stay comfy, and it's like, all right, well, we actually get super uncomfortable, because that's where all the amazing shit happens.
Oh yeah. That was my life for the past, like, probably 4 years. It took me I'm taking the long journey, right? There's no such thing as an overnight success. We're talking about 5 years in business. And I noticed that when you have data of 5 years, you can see some patterns, right? First year of business, it was like 150,000. Second year of business was like 250,000. Third year of business was 350,000. Fourth year in business, it went back down to 250,000. And it was because that $350,000 a year, I had pushed myself to do a mastermind before I felt comfortable. And when I went down, I ended up having a couple more years of not hitting the 350,000 mark. And I was like, why is this happening? And it's like, oh, it's because I'm not pushing myself out of my comfort zone. And what does that look like? And so what it's looked like for me just in the past 3 months, I think I started going, oh my gosh, we're approaching the 6-month mark of 2019. What have I done differently this year? And so this is, I got an office. I'm in an office now. I wasn't in an office before. I hired 5 people to my team to take over things that I was doing one-on-one. I joined 2 masterminds before I felt like I could afford it. Consistently this year has been about slowing down before I speed up, which means spending in ways that don't make me feel comfortable with the intention of bringing a lot more revenues into the business. And it's totally working. Like, I'm like, oh, conversion expert team, like not doing everything myself. Like, this is the uncomfortable part. And I will tell you, it has led to tears certain nights. It has felt like I have a job and I'm going to my job. The structure has been really hard for me. But then at the same time, it's like, well, what do you expect? If you want to go to the next level and if you are going to do this, you're going to have to get uncomfortable for a little while. It's not always going to be this way. It's just for a little while.
It's the growing pain. You're in the growing pains. We all must go through the growing pains. It's necessary.
Yeah. I call it business puberty, and it's really freaking awkward. It's really awkward.
I love you. Oh my God. By the way, always count on Jenna. It's funny when I was talking about doing this episode with you, I'm like, I just love you because it's like you're a comedian, branding expert, boss babe, like all wrapped in one. Seriously, I just love you so much.
Oh, are you talking about the time that I get a microphone and I do a voice change? I mean, it's thank you. I appreciate that. And I love that about you. And I think you're so cute and funny too. And you always surprise me. Like, I always see these like Instagram stories of you like jumping out of bed like a flying squirrel. That's probably my favorite one.
Well, okay. So that's another thing, right? Is like, we've got to be comfortable with, and that this is also can be uncomfortable. It was for me when I first started, but showing the 360, the full 360 of each of us. We're each personal brands. For those of you who are listening who are personal brands, show everyone every part of you, not just like just the professional side, because that's not why people work with you. Like, the reason they work with you, Jenna, is because you're Jenna. Like, you're Jenna fucking Soard. And like, honestly, like a lot of people, like, they feel that. And so, same with me. The reason why people work with me most of the time, one of the biggest reasons is because it's me.
Yeah, of course.
And so it's really important. But the reason why is because I let people in, and so do you. You talk publicly about your dating life. Like, there's like no shame in your game, sister. And I'm the same way. I love it. And so I love that about you.
Oh my gosh. When I go to conferences, people will be like, they don't ask me about business stuff. They go, tell me what's going on with Hottie McDogwalker. Like, how's your dog Picasso? What were you doing in Glasgow the other week? Like, they all know, like people constantly say to me, I feel like we're best friends. And then I just automatically assume that they're my best friends too. And then we get together, and I have, met people's families, stayed in their houses. I have the best relationships with all of my clients. They're all people I would be friends with. So it's so fun. It's so fun.
Same. And that's what you're doing. You're building connection, because people don't connect to just one, like, we're multidimensional human beings. So we're going to connect with other multidimensional human beings. Like, you're cutting off connection if you're not letting people see those other sides of you, the intimate parts of you. And I love that you do that. And you've experienced it, how powerful that can be with your clients. It really does. Trust, connection, all the things.
I think it's so crazy that out of the 25,000 women entrepreneurs that have come through my ecosystem, I've only ever gotten one piece of hate mail, and it was about grammar. That was the only thing. And it was, but the best part was then I took that email and I read it publicly in a horrible British accent, because she was from England, and I love England, and London's my favorite city on earth, and I go every summer or whatever. But I was making fun of her because she's like, I come from the King's School. So like, she was like royalty telling me that I was bastardizing the English language. And I was like, this is the best hate mail. Like, I am so lucky.
Embrace the haters. I love it. You got to do it. I love that you read that. You're like, that's really important. Don't delete it. Like, share it. I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome.
There was one time I was talking about going deaf in my right ear to my audience, and I got this like sob story from this woman who was like, you don't even, how can you even say that that's a big deal when I went blind in one of my eyes because of cancer? And I was like, whoa. So what you're telling me is that I shouldn't talk about this because you experienced something. I was like, if you had a book, I would read it. I would promote it. Like, I was like, every time a hater comes out of the woodwork, and this will happen to you guys no matter what, is that you have to ask yourself, they're sharing their pain with you. And they're sharing their pain with you. And that I always use it as an exercise to get them to dive into how this is their pain, that it's not my pain, and how they can be okay with that because I'm okay with them. So the more vinegar I get, the nicer and more loving and compassionate I am. And they never know what to say to it. Like,
that's so good, Jenna. I love that you said that, because honestly, you're so right. It's a projection of the pain that they're going through. And for those of you listening, if that's one of your fears of like, oh, I'm scared if I'm going to put this out, then I'm going to get some haters. Good. Like, welcome them, because that's an opportunity for you to like strengthen your own self-image, right? Because if we're taking personally from other people, then that means that you're not grounded enough in who you are, right? And then secondly, it's actually an opportunity to like serve that person, to actually give them the compassion that they're actually seeking. Because haters, at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We all want love. We all want love and connection. We all want it. We all do. And so it's just a cry for love. That's all it is. It's a cry for love. And hate's a cry for love. So it's like, just give them the love, and, you know, don't be attached to the way they respond to it. But it's like, we get to be a stand for what we want to see more of in this world. You know, you can't put out fire with fire. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, and what a great learning lesson it is if it does trigger you to look at your own, is this aligned with me? So remember, if we do like a call back to the beginning of the episode when I was saying that I had 25 sales calls and failed at them all with the first, group of one-on-one clients I tried to have. I went and asked for feedback from one of them about why they didn't buy. And she said, I didn't think you were aligned with the offer. I feel like you didn't actually want to sell it. And so think about, if you get triggered by someone and it hurts your feelings, what is the story that you're telling about yourself? Is that person being a mirror for you? If somebody's saying something about your age or your weight or your relationships or your business or any of those things, is it triggering for you because there's something not aligned for you? And if that's not the case, like, if you don't get triggered by haters, it's usually an indication that you're so aligned with what you're doing that you're like, that's hilarious that you would think that, because that is so not where I'm at, that they can say whatever they want and you're like, ping, ping, ping. And you can just like karate chop all of the insults because you're like, that's just hilarious. Like, how, adorable.
It's so true. That's so good. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. I'm totally aligned with that. And for those of you listening, that was a total like gem that Jenna just shared. So yes. Okay. And actually, speaking of which, there was something that you said earlier, and I just remembered when you were saying all that, you were talking about charging more for your private clients. And you were saying, oh my gosh, these clients have actually been so freaking fun to work with because they're so in it. They're so committed. Da, 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 da. So there is a key thing I want you to take from that, listeners, watchers, is she called those clients up to their highest game because of the investment they made with her.
Oh yeah.
And that's so important because so many people are afraid to charge what they're worth. They're afraid to charge more. They're afraid to charge more because they're like, like, I feel bad. I want to give it to them for cheap. I want to give them a discount. You're discounting them. You're discounting their results. You're discounting their outcome, because what happens is when people pay, I literally did this. I doubled my prices at one point because it was like, it also calls, would you agree, it also calls us as the service provider to a way higher game?
Oh, if you don't feel like you're getting paid what you're worth around it, you don't want to show up because you feel like you're working for free. And it's like, you have to even be careful with trades around that. I always am like documenting, like, am I showing up as the fullest self here? Are they showing up? And I will actually go from a complete trade situation to like, I am going to pay you because energetically, I don't feel like this is a good.
My God. Okay, Jenna. Okay, I swear, look, you guys, Jenna and I are so crazy. Like, no wonder we're friends, but we're so aligned. We're always on the same wavelength. Babe, I literally was just talking about this yesterday.
Like, you were.
what you said, exactly what you said to the T. And it's funny because before, I don't know if we were recording on this part, but you guys, there was something else that I was like, Jenna, I was just talking about this yesterday in the car.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just tripping me out, but I'm with you, sister. That is so absolutely true.
Well, you know, one of the things that Jen Sincero, I don't know how to say her name, in the You Are a Badass and Making Money and You Are a Badass books. I don't know if you've read any of her books, but one of the things that she says in her books that was a game changer for me just in the past like month was that she said, when you're ready to step into like your fullest abundant self, you stop giving away things to your friends for free. And I was like, what? I give away my $2,000 program to my friends all the time. And how many times do they not do it because I gave it to them for free? Yes. Yeah. Now, one of those friends that I'm thinking of right now, that's actually a mutual friend of ours. His name's Matt Schaefer, and he won't care that I'm talking about him right now because
love you, Matt.
He was somebody I had given my $2,000 program access to. We meet in a leadership program. I'm like, hey, Matt, you would be amazing if you had a course. He sat on that course for 2 years. He saw a post that I was offering a, get stuff done, accountability, like I will do the launch for you sort of thing. He stepped in, he did it. We both showed up like we've never showed up before because he invested the proper amount, tens of thousands of dollars into this. We launched his course with the 0 people on his list. He had 1,500 people on his list. He made $47,000. We only spent $500 in ads. He has the most beautiful course. All of his slideshows, all of his sales pages, everything are done by my team. I'm like, I wish I could have had this service. And I'm like, this is an example of me giving something for free for somebody who I saw potential in, who I knew was going to be a badass boss, and that he couldn't step into his potential until he invested in himself. And I'm like, I am doing a huge disservice to my friends. And now it's so easy to say what the price of it is because I know that they're not going to do it if they don't step in. So if I love them, I'll charge them.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So good. Such a good sparkly nugget. I love it. And it's so true. I did that. I had this experience within the last year. There was a friend who came to me for a website and I just knew, I'm like, and she wanted the discount and I get it. And I told her, I said, look, if I was to give you this discount, I would not be serving you, sister. Like it would be a total disservice to you and to me. And here's why. And I told her exactly what you said. And it's just not, you're not calling them to their biggest game and you're not calling yourself to the mistake. It's a lose, guys. So stop discounting your stuff, like call people to their highest game and you in turn get to show up as your highest self. It's such a win-win. So
yes,
that's a golden nugget. Yes. I love it. Okay. So I'm like, I love that. This episode is packed with so much goodness. I hope y'all are taking notes right now. So, Jenna, we are coming near the end, sadly, of the podcast. So a couple of things I know. Well, you and I are going to end up talking right after this. Anyway,
I know, it's true.
So what I would love to leave off our listeners with, like, what do you believe for you was your, maybe you could say 1, 2, or 3 most valuable things that have helped you with growing your business and getting to where you are today personally that you did? Could you share with us? Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing would be making sure that whatever I was selling was something aligned, it was aligned on a topic that I felt like I could never get sick of. No matter what I'm doing, it is not something ever like, I'm going to go do this thing because it's going to make money. That is never the intention. It is always like, I'm so obsessed. I can't learn enough about it. I can't do it enough. It never feels like work. It always feels like I'm growing and being inspired along with it, whether it's design related or now like getting into strategy, funnels, design, Facebook ads, all of it. I can't get enough. I get excited every single day. So if you don't feel like you can get sick of something, that's a pretty good indication. And a lot of people will choose a thing that they think will make them money versus really choosing something that is solving a problem in the world that is directly related to something you're super passionate about. And helping women entrepreneurs is a huge passion of mine because And I do have some men too, and I love working with them, like with Matt, who also serves women. But one of the beautiful parts about being so aligned that way is you start to see the branch out of the effect of those people in the world, and that allows you to multiply yourself with your impact. So I would say that that's number one. Number two would be to be fully invested in yourself and fully invested in the process of whatever you're doing. If you're going to spend your hard-earned money on something, to go into it with 150%. And if you find blocks getting in the way, to reach out for help to get through those blocks. Because, you know, whether it's a leadership program, whether it's Landmark or ALA or hiring a high-end coach or somebody, we all have blocks that we need help get through. And it's really easy to step into hiding and becoming, thinking I can do it all myself. I don't want to ask for help. Asking for help makes me weak is a problem.
That's a limiting belief in of itself.
Limiting belief that I shouldn't have to ask for help. I should just know this. I mean, we all fall into this. Me getting a conversion expert for the first time in 5 years is an example of that. As like, oh, there's people who know more than me. Like, get your ego out of the way. Like, that's the thing that's keeping you small, is thinking that you're the only person who knows what you know.
I love those are so good. And something I wanted to touch on too, the first point, you guys, remember when Jenna wasn't aligned, she wasn't selling. You will not sell. You will not make nearly as much money if you are doing something just for the money and you're not aligned to what it is, the service you're providing, whatever it is that you're selling. It's just not, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
No.
And
keep going. Sorry.
I was gonna say you will experience the minimal amount of success that you would if you had actually went for something that you're completely aligned with. And even on the second point you made, it was actually a similar theme. It's like, hey, you've got to be invested in what you're creating and what you're doing, what you're providing.
And there's so many more things that you can make money from than you think. Like, there's something, if your passion is that you see yourself on a train in Europe, you know, having extravagant affairs with handsome men in Europe, this is a personal dream of mine. You can make a business, not the kind of business you're thinking of, but you can make a business. You can make a business out of writing romance novels from a train and then teaching people how to write romance novels. The world of possibility is available to you. You don't have to work in a cubicle with a 9-to-5 job. Like, that belief was ingrained to you from your parents and from your schooling. And you just need to know that you can do anything you want. You just have to have a vision for it. And you have to be willing to dream, you know?
Yes. It's so important. And I think that's such a great way to leave off this episode, because I personally feel like with a lot of my audience and a lot of my clients, that is a huge thing that's stopping them. And that is a huge block for so many people, and probably for most of you listening right now. So thank you so much for that, Jenna. And before we end the episode, where can everyone go now that they're obsessed with you too? Where can they go to learn more about you, to connect with you?
Yes. So the easiest way to find me is at You Can Brand. So you can find me at You Can Brand on Instagram, on Facebook. YouCanBrand.com is a website filled with freebies, from everything from design to creating courses to Facebook and Instagram ad stuff. And if you can just get on the email list somewhere on the website, you will find out all the shenanigans that I'm up to, incorporating sometimes and often fun dates with very handsome gentlemen.
Oh my gosh. Yes. You guys gotta follow Jenna. She is such a hoot and a half. You are a hoot and a half. And also another thing, and I mean, I wouldn't have brought you on this podcast otherwise. And for those of you listening, like, I only bring people who I believe in, who I get behind. And Jenna is seriously such a genuine soul. Her mission is truly to make a difference in people's lives. And honestly, I'm just so grateful to call you a friend, Jenna. I'm so grateful that my audience got to meet you. And I just love you so much. And I so appreciate you sharing your heart and your wisdom with us today on the episode. So thank you so much.
I love you so much too. And I wanted to say one more thing.
Okay, go.
The number 3 thing to be successful is to surround yourself around like-minded people who get you, love you, support you, and who are at the next level. If you are surrounded around people that don't have the same mindset, that they don't have the same ambitions, you are the sum of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. So I just want to thank you, Ashley, for being one of the people that's there. We need to see each other more. We're going to Canada on a girls trip, all the things. So
yes.
it's so awesome.
Thank you so much, Jenna. I love you.
I love you too.